number 460, where I would like to claim that today we're going to learn to be a better gamer. But today might be different. Let me explain. So I think I'll state it as simply as this. I think I actually have hit burnout as a person, as an organism in the workforce. Like I think I actually burned out and ran out of steam. I know I said that today's topic was going to be part 2 of this TVP late game thing. I haven't forgotten that, and I want to do that. But I just couldn't get the show together. I couldn't poop out a show. I'm having mental constipation, right? And I'm sure that many of you have had this feeling as well, where it's final exam season, and you've written 6 essays and done 2 exams, and you have 1 essay left to write, and you're just staring at the open word processor, and there's a sentence written, and you're like, I can't, this is not going to write itself. And you're like, damn it, why won't it write itself? I wish it would. And of course, what I could do in a position like that, is just cancel the daily and be like, we're not going to do it. But that would be a jerkish thing to do. I shall never do that. Well, assuming I'm in the house. If I'm like, if my car's broken down and I'm in the middle of the desert dying of thirst, I might tweet that, daily's canceled and we'll resume tomorrow. But still, if I am here, I would not want to cancel the daily. And the reasoning behind it, and I mean this totally, like seriously, genuinely as possible, you guys are just really nice. You guys are just the nicest people ever. And I was particularly struck by a nice bit of niceness yesterday. There's the mailbox on Hoover. You can get the mailing address for me at day9.tv/contact, I think. You send the nicest things ever. All of you. You're so nice. Like, I'm reading people, giving hearts asking me to grow a beard in the chat. But, I mean, things like this, I get tons of little gifts like this that just, like, be a better gamer. Woohoo! Yeah! From the lovely Mrs. Pants B. Yeah! And there's the other things like the Everyday I'm Jefferson thing. Where is it? Within reach. Yeah! Everyday I'm Jefferson. Most of the stuff in my room, actually. For any of you who are always curious about why perhaps I don't mention these sorts of things on air, it's because I like to hide them in my room. Like right here, you'll see that there's an infestor. I have an infestor in Day 9 Yellow. I'll actually bring him down. Here he is. Yeah, he's like a Reba. He's like a Reaver fester, right? Yeah, woohoo! Do-do-do-do-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So what I like to do, and I'm curious if anyone would ever actually go back into the archives and do this, but if you look through the archives and focus on just the bookshelf, you'll see me changing a thing here and there every now and again. And it's all the nice gifts that you did. If you sent a card, it's probably been on this bookshelf. If you sent me any books, it would be... Well, actually, that kind of sucks. It'd be right behind the overlay I just took down. Comic books do go on this side. There we go. And, of course, everything that has ever been sent me by anyone ever, I have kept, including most of the packaging. Haha. I have like a giant stack over there, and one underneath this shelf down there. So, since you are so nice to me, I would never want to just be selfish and go, well, I'm just going to go take a nap. Naps can wait. The daily cannot. But here's the issue. I don't have a topic. I don't have a show. I watched like 30 or 40 games today, and I was like, well, these games are awful. These games are terrible, and there's nothing noteworthy, and maybe I could rip something out of my head, but alas, I cannot. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to guide you through a choose-your-own-adventure process, where what we're going to do is we're going to select some replays from none other than LiquidRet. We're going to choose the matchup, and you'll get to choose the game, and I'll do as much interactivity as possible, taking your questions to help dictate the course of the show, as opposed to doing what I usually do, which is to prepare most of it beforehand. So, wanted to show you that if you go to TeamLiquidPro.com, this is the website for one of my favorite pro gaming teams of all time, Team Liquid, and they have all the players, replays, sponsors, news, all of it. And every week they release a Razor replay pack of the week, and the most recent one is LiquidRet. So if you've ever been struggling with Zerg, you can just get the Team Liquid replay pack there. And of course, if you just scroll down, you'll see more and more and more and more and more replay links to keep you nice and healthy. So what we're going to do is we're going to examine the following 3 matchups. Zerg vs. Zerg, Zerg vs. Terran, Zerg vs. Protoss. I have no idea what lies within these particular folders, but you are going to be choosing it for me. If you'd like to see Zerg vs. Zerg, type Zerg in all lowercase. Or for Terran, type Terran in all lowercase. For Protoss, type Protoss in all lowercase. Whatever one I end up seeing most of, we'll end up seeing. So Zerg, Terran, Protoss, please type them all the way out. Looks like not a soul in the world wants to see any Zerg vs. Zerg. That is incredible. Holy frickin' crap. I'm seeing about a 50-50 split between Terran and Protoss, but lately I've been seeing a lot more Terrans pop up. Excellent. We'll go ahead and delve into this Zerg vs. Terran folder. And do I have sound on? Nope. Alright, so which of these games would you like to see? We'll just pick any old game that you would like to see, and we'll go ahead and grab one. We have LDL, Com HG, have no idea. We have the Braddock games, Avilo games, Major, or Die Star. Whichever one you so desire will end up snacking and snatching up. And while people are spamming like crazy about whomever they want to actually end up seeing, I wanted to once again say part of the reason for my ridiculous over-burnoutedness and exhaustion is that I've been hard at work trying to get everything in order for the Red Bull Battlegrounds, which I'm really excited for because not only is the tournament going to be kick-ass, but also it's going to be me and Wheat and Husky and Rob, who I just adore working with, so they'll indeed be part of that. Alright, it looks like we're going to be looking at the Braddock games, so let's go ahead and get ready for those. Yeah, and I would love it if you came to the Red Bull Battlegrounds. There's a thread up over on Team Liquid that I'll go ahead and link you to. Just, if you go to teamliquid.net, go to the front page. See, by the way, I have a lot of unanswered PMs, so generally don't try to message me there. I lose track of it. But it's right here, Red Bull Battlegrounds. If you'd be so kind as to come to Austin, Texas, hang out, that would be wonderful. If you're having trouble carpooling, just post in the thread. And if you can't wait that long, I am at the Green Forest Land Cafe in Ventura, California this weekend. This is also on the Team Liquid thread, the SoCal MSI Battlegrounds, casted by Day 9, different from the Red Bull Battlegrounds. I guess that name overlap is a mere coincidence. But if you would like to come by and say hi at either of those, please come. Looks like we are going to be loading up. Let's just go ahead and do the first game that's on Metropolis. Now, because I'm going to be narrating this from the Zerg point of view, I want this to be a Zerg-focused daily because we did Terran Week, mainly. Missed a day on accident. But we are also doing Part 2 of the Terran TVP, which I completely botched and just didn't have ready for you today. Whoopsie daisies. So we're going to go ahead and focus on our Zerg buddy LiquidRet in the Zerg vs. Terran matchup, and I'm going to try to be talking a lot about just general timings and this sort of thing. I don't want to go through this too fast because often what I like to do at the daily is get a general topic, and I like to see variations on that topic theme. You know, like if we're looking at a early expanding Protoss going air, I would want to look at 3 games. One standard, one where he gets all in, and one where the air totally messes up. This is the sort of variety I like. But here, I don't have a through line. I don't have a story that I'm really necessarily telling. I'm just going to be talking specifically about this game and all the considerations I'd want to make. Per usual, anytime I step on a map, and you know, I may very well end up doing a map analysis soon. There's a lot of people who generally ask me, why don't you do a lot of the things that you did in the Brood War dailies? And the answer is just that StarCraft 2 is just not nearly as developed as Brood War was. I mean, it's almost like the 10-year-old game I view as a 10-year-old child, all its creativity and imagination and joy, versus a 1.5-year-old child, which is great. But, you know, you can't go play catch with your 1.5-year-old unless you want to go to jail. So, Here, now that the maps are becoming more developed, I might be able to do a map analysis. It was pretty hard to do map analysis when the maps were like steps of war. It's like, well, you start out in the other person's base, so hope you don't expand ever, and there you go. But on any map in StarCraft 2, I always want to ask myself where I am taking my 3rd and 4th expansions. Where am I doing those? This is going to dictate a lot of the action. Now, on Metropolis, it seems fairly reasonable. Here's 2nd. And this seems like a clear 3rd. This seems like a clear 4th. And because I'm all the way peeled back far away from him, this means that I'm probably going to be doing a little bit more longer-term builds. Anything mobility-focused is going to work really well. If I'm doing something like Zergling Mutalisk, I'm happier to be farther away and do stuff. If I'm going Zergling Infestor, I'm a little bit less comfortable with having these far-away, peeled-back expansion because I generally attack towards the opponent. You don't want to be close when you're going for the for Zergling Infestor as a general rule. You know, it's good to be far back with Zerg because all your units are fast, but especially if I'm a Terran buddy, I'm probably going to be considering this expansion a good amount of the time. Not necessarily taking it, but I would like the idea of pushing towards this Xel'Naga Watchtower while taking this expansion. So Rhett does the usual sort of thing. It looks like he's going for the, I believe it was a 15 hatchery, and then building 2 drones and going for the 16 pool. Per usual, I love this by LiquidRet. This first Overlord is to just check up on the opponent. The second one is just checking for any sort of proxy barracks shenanigans. And it winds up going here eventually, but the second Overlord is always there to monitor for some sort of proxy. A lot of people leave the Overlord here. If I were doing this, I would probably plant my Overlord here. I would probably move it here at first, kind of like over this thing, so that way if I'm taking some shots, I can run up here. Just because having coverage at the front of your base is such a critical thing from Zerg. Might indeed be a relic from my Brood War days where I absolutely despised losing to this early pressure. And this, I actually think, is quite common. If you're Terran and you don't do this, you should. Your first 2 Marines, with any build, but specifically when you're going for this reactor play, anytime you build that first Marine, it can always wander out into the middle of the map and do whatever the hell it wants. Up until you start Hellions, then you have to pull back. So, Rhett does lose this one Overlord. It's a tragedy. And he ends up moving along accordingly. If I lose an Overlord, what I'm going to be doing is delaying gas. Because the only things I'm going to be doing with gas early is getting a layer or getting a spawning pool, both of which, even though 100 minerals doesn't seem like that much, does end up being that much. So that's generally going to be the response. But this is something that LiquidRet has been doing quite a lot, this double queen sort of thing. So general timings, Hellions will start at 445, 450, as we can see right up there, in a usual play. So your queens will generally line up. These 2 queens will be popping out at the same time. I think it's important to note that these 2 queens are now just going to be hanging out at the front, going vomit, vomit, and then how am I forgetting the name of this? Come on, brain. Oh yeah, creep tumor, creep tumor. This is a critical 10-second period where the larva pops off, and sure, we churn out a whole bunch of drones. But right now, we could do more injects, but we're electing not to. We want to spread the creep, but we actually don't quite have enough money if we did inject on that right away. We have to wait until after 40 food to get all our dronies up. But this sort of triple queen play is really good. These Hellions should get to your base a little before 6 minutes on big maps, around 5:30 on smaller maps. And I'm starting to say a lot of timings. These are the sorts of things that I guess I might gloss over, perhaps more than I should. I like giving concepts more than I like giving numbers, but numbers are really the lifeblood of good strategies. So you should know that around 5 minutes he starts Hellion. Around 6 minutes, that's when you're worried about Hellions coming into your base. Just the first 2. As a result, I don't ever want you to be looking at this minimap freaking out about something he could be doing. No, Spinecrawler going down right now, not a problem at all. And of course, 7 minutes is about when that Banshee will be popped out headed to your base, and around 7:30 is the earliest that he can finish Cloak. So we don't even have to start even considering detection. Whoopsie daisies. You'll notice the evolution chamber is 30 seconds. We can start an Evo chamber at 7 minutes to be able to deal with that. Triple extractor at 40. This is just a common time with the build. Rhett has said multiple times, at least in private conversations, I just try to make sure I have no larva left over. That's always my #1 goal. No matter what. I don't care about tech as much. I don't care about getting better upgrades. I just want to have no idle larva. And that's awesome. So, okay. So we've started to spread creep. We're fairly front of the base proof. Now, of course, there's one of the most important concepts in all of StarCraft 2, which is what I call a non-trigger. Last Shadow calls them timestamps. I think timestamp is a lot better of a name, but I'm still going to call it a non-trigger. If Hellions are supposed to get to your base around 6 minutes at the latest, and they haven't, you know he's not going Hellion. You know for a fact he's not going Hellion. You could, and this is, so, what order do I want to go about that in? Oh yeah, you know he's not going Hellion. So, I'm deciding which way I want to order this. This is the sort of stuff that I do before a show generally that I don't like to do in a show. So, yeah, okay. 6 minutes at the latest is when we'll see Hellions, assuming he's playing like a reasonable person and bringing the Hellions to the front. So if we're at 6 minutes and 30 seconds and we've seen no Hellion, I'm probably thinking to myself, better throw down that evolution chamber at 7 minutes. Because he could be going for that Cloak Banshee. But because he's going Banshee, I know I can get away with a lot more drones. Ha, fantastic. Or he could be early expanding, and I should probably send a Zergling up there if I'm at, 5:30 and I still don't see Hellions, 6 minutes still don't see Hellions, want to send a Zergling right on up. I always get asked the question, what if he's going Hellion, but he just isn't bringing them to the front? Then he's awful. You're going to see the Hellions at 7:30, and you're going to think, well, great, I got to spread my creep. Fantastic, right? That's the coolest part about it. Because if at 6 minutes you don't see Hellions, he's almost certainly not going Hellions, but if he is, then he's awful, and you win because he's awful. Hey, what do you know? Double evolution chamber at 7 minutes. Notice how this aligns with our idea. Okay, well, if he's going Hellions, he could be going for some kind of very, very, very fast Banshee. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare for that with the double Evo. And generally, right around now is when you'll start to see those Banshees pop on into your base. So we're going to be in more than enough good shape. Now, also, around 8:30 and 9 is the next moment that I actually get scared. 8:30 or 9 is about the moment when I start to feel a little bit scared against Hellion. I actually have to open up the main map to show why. Let me actually pop all the way back to 4 minutes. This is where it's important to know some timings, because the big thing is that I don't want to be worried about, how do I put that? I'm most concerned about periods where I don't need to worry at all. Why is that? Because if I know when I have no fear, or when I literally have nothing to fear, then I'm going to be droning and upgrading and going balls to the wall late-term focus. So, for instance, if I see Hellions, you should know that around 8:30 or 9 is the earliest that you should ever be worried about anything else. Let's go ahead and see why. Because that is about the earliest time that our opponent can have Stim. Look at this. He instantly went for Tech Lab, instantly went for Stim, and Stim, 170 seconds, it's about 3 minutes. So if he starts it at 5:30, it's about another 3 minutes, 8:30 or 9 before it's finished. You might get attacked by Combat Shield Marines. You might get attacked, or you might get attacked by Combat Shield Marines, but it won't be that many. Combat Shield's about 2 minutes in length. So that will be happening around 8, 8:30. Stim will be finishing around 9 with Medivacs. That's the one that scares me a little bit more. But most importantly, just looking at Terran's base after he opens Hellion. Hellion is super, ultra, incredibly standard. Stim, a very scary upgrade. He can't have both Stim and Combat Shield hitting you any earlier than 11. You just can't. It's physically frickin' impossible. Braddock is doing a control build. This is one of the most popular builds of late, especially on big maps. Boom! Finishing that. About the earliest that you ever need to worry about anything is 8:30 or 9. So as we come back to the ret cam, with absolutely no vision, incredible creep spread, and the gobbling up of this expansion, what happens at 8:30? The production of Zerglings, absolutely love it. We got these evolution chambers, obviously because we want the late-term 1-1 upgrades, but also to account for that possibility of Banshees. Alright, cool. It's well past 7:30. We've seen no Banshees. The next period I'm worried about is 8:30. So boom, right around then I start building Zerglings and, of course, get my layer out. So, I'm going to go to a break because it seems like break time. So, when we come back, we're going to just keep watching the game from a Zergy point of view. Yeah! Holla, holla, it's Sobala.